It's time for another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in general here in the Ozarks. Whether you are considering a move to this area or trying to learn more about the place you call home, we've got something special for you. Here's our host, Randy Wilburn.
Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. I am your host, Randy Wilburn. I'm excited as always to be with you. I've got a great guest today, and before I introduce this guest, I just want to share, just obviously give a shout out to KUAF and the Furman Garner Performance Studio. Love public radio. I love what it represents. I grew up on public radio, so that's why I listen to it all the time. And so when KUAF came to me and said, hey, we'd like to partner up with you and share some of your episodes on our Bedrock program, Ozarks at Large, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. And I didn't think twice about it, but it's been a sheer joy to be here recording in a professional studio setting. And, you know, I've had others as well where I've been able to record, but this has got to be the highlight for this particular podcast. So we are 5 years into it and we really enjoy being here at KUAF. But I'm excited about this episode today because I've had a chance, and living in Fayetteville, and I was just telling my guests this, living in Fayetteville, I go to the Fayetteville Public Library. It is arguably one of the nicest libraries in the country, if not the world. And that's no exaggeration. So for those of you that don't live here, if you don't know, you need to put the Fayetteville Public Library on your visiting tour when you come to visit Northwest Arkansas, because it will make a case for why you should call this place home. You don't necessarily have to live in Fayetteville, but this library is pretty amazing. But we have other amazing libraries in Northwest Arkansas, and I'm thinking, of course, of Bentonville, of Rogers, and also of Springdale. Springdale is right next to Fayetteville. So when you think of a sandwich, Bentonville being at the top, technically Bella Vista's at the top, but let's just say Bentonville at the top. And then you've got Rogers, then you've got Springdale, and then you have Fayetteville. That's the sandwich that makes Northwest Arkansas. And then, of course, you've got Eureka Springs to the east, you've got Siloam Springs to the west, and everything in between. And that's what makes this area such a special place. But one of the things that we wanted to do was really highlight what makes all the different libraries that we have in our community so special. And so I asked this next guest, Nina Hodgson, to come on the podcast and to talk about the Springdale Public Library. Nina is the marketing director at the library, and she's doing great work there. And I wanted to bring her on to kind of share a little bit about the Springdale Public Library. We will eventually have an episode for Rogers, and we will have one for Bentonville. And there'll be a whole section of episodes of just libraries, because I grew up in a library, and a library has kind of formed who I am as a person. And I learned so much. And I can remember being dropped off on Saturday morning after the Saturday morning cartoons to spend about 6 or 7 hours at the library, listening to things and reading books and all kinds of programs that they would have at your public library. And it's an institution that unfortunately is under attack right now in so many different ways, but that's not what this podcast episode is about. We want to talk about what is open and available to you as a resident of Northwest Arkansas. And so without further ado, Nina Hodgson, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd love for you just to tell our audience just a little bit about yourself and how you ended up at the Springdale Public Library.
Yeah, I ended up in Arkansas on accident. I ended up following my sister here, basically, but I ended up at the library, started as like an information assistant position, and then made my way up to the marketing position that I'm in now. But yeah, I love it so far. I have no plans to go anywhere.
Okay, good. Well, we're glad you're here, and we're glad you are providing a wonderful service to the Springdale Public Library. So tell us about the Springdale Public Library. Give us a little bit of a background and history of the library. You guys, I believe last year, as of us recording this in 2024, in 2023, you celebrated 100 years of existence.
Yes, our 100th year anniversary was September of last year. We started out as a little book lending program in a Presbyterian church. Actually, the location is where the Shiloh Museum is now. That's where we used to live.
Okay.
And then we moved over to the location we are now. We got a facelift, and we're getting another one soon. And by that, I mean an expansion.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, since then, we've just been heading along, doing what we can for the community.
Right. For over 100 years.
Over 100 years.
That's saying something. So,
Yeah.
well, so tell us a little bit about, like, kind of bring us up to speed on all the programs that the library offers. Obviously, you have a normal collection. I'm sure you do a lot of different things. And when I think of libraries now, everything I compare it to is the Fayetteville Public Library in terms of what they're offering. I mean, they have a genealogy department. They have a rare books collection. I mean, they have a little bit of everything.
They do.
So tell us a little bit about what Springdale has to offer the patron that would come in there, whether they are a resident of Springdale or maybe they're coming from an adjoining town to come to the library to do some work.
Yeah. And I'll preface by saying that you don't have to live in Springdale to get a library card. It's anywhere. If you live, work, go to school, own property, you or anyone in your household in Washington County.
Yeah.
It qualifies everybody for a card. So a lot of people think that you have to live in Springdale, but you don't.
Yeah. Same thing with the Fayetteville Public Library.
So. Washington County. Yeah.
Right.
If you have a card there, you can get one with us.
Right.
And you don't even need a card to come to our programs. Anybody can drop in. But we've got programs all the time. The ones that we have always are going to be ESL classes. We're teaching English as a second language. We have story times all the time. And then different programs for kids, for teens, for adults, promote learning about the culture of Springdale because it is a very diverse town.
It's one of the most diverse towns in all of Northwest Arkansas.
It's great. And you see that reflected on our collection, which is something that is different from Fayetteville. We do have very good collection, despite the library seems small, but it's like one of those ones where you go inside and it just keeps going, like the Dixon Street bookshop.
Right.
But we've got a great collection, and we have a good Spanish collection. We have some books in Marshallese, which is pretty rare to find literature in Marshallese. So we're, happy to have that and provide that for everybody.
Sure.
But we'll do story times, all sorts of classes.
Okay. All right. And then, I mean, in terms of from a programming standpoint, what are some of the programs that you do on a regular basis that are just year over year you do them and you have a lot of success with them?
Yeah, like I said, story time, ESL classes. We do author talks where we'll do a book club and then the author comes in when we discuss the books. We've got lots of book clubs, of course.
Yeah.
We'll do crafting classes regularly. Most of them are a once a month thing.
Wow. And so talk a little bit about what you guys have found over the years. I know there are several benefactors for the public library. As Springdale has grown, how has the library had to adjust and continue to be relevant?
Yeah. I mean, that's a problem for all libraries.
Absolutely.
With the rise of Google and, Audible and stuff.
I'm holding my phone in my hand right now because everything I technically need is in my hand.
Yep.
But there's still nothing like going into a room and cracking the spine of a book.
Yes. And we do offer ebooks and audiobooks. I hear a lot of people talking about how they use Spotify or Audible to listen to their books. And I'm like, you don't have to pay for that,
Yeah.
You can listen to it for free with your library card.
Yeah. That's right. So are you guys connected with Libby or Overdrive or
Libby/Overdrive? We also have Hoopla, which is more books, more nonfiction. And then we've got Canopy, which has some podcasts and stuff as well, mostly like foreign films and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think people realize that you can just about, not everything, but like if you read books on a Kindle and you have a library card, then you can download books and read that on your Kindle or read it on a reading device like a Libby or Overdrive or some of these other devices, other applications, which are free. And you can tie your library card to those applications. And then the cool thing is that when you order a electronic book, when it's available, it just automatically shows up and you get a little notification that, hey, your book is available. You have 21 days to read it.
Yeah, so no overdue fines too, because it'll just check itself out of your cart. You don't get to keep it.
You don't know how many times it's happened to me that I've gone back and I'm like at day 22 and I'm like, oh crap, it's gone. There's there's no wiggle room. And then you got to go back and try to get it again.
That's the downside. Like that. Sometimes 30 cents is worth finishing that last chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to, that's huge. So certainly you have all of this technology at our disposal. I'm assuming you guys rent movies too in the facility itself.
Yeah, we've got a huge DVD collection, although DVDs are kind of falling out, but we do have online movie services.
So,
yeah, I don't own a DVD player.
Right. Who does?
Who does?
I mean, and if you have VHS or Betamax, I mean, that's even taking it further back. So the bottom line is that the technology is such nowadays. Now, is there a way? I thought there was a way at the library to stream movies from the library.
Yeah, you can stream movies the same way that you would like check out an ebook on Libby. Canopy is one of our services. Hoopla also has movies. So same way, you make an account with your library card and then you have access to all of those movies.
And a lot of them would be first-rate movies, right? Like, I mean, I would be able to download some movies that maybe just came out in the last 6 months or...
Yeah, they've got pretty good selections. And then, of course, if you do want to use a DVD, you can always use the computers at the library. They do have DVD players.
Yeah. Do you have a whole computer center?
Yes. Yeah. We've got, it's not closed off or anything, but we do have quite a few computers. That's one of the ways, we've adapted as we go on. Got all sorts of computers. We've got all sorts of scanning and faxing machines, and we do notary services because that's something that's needed in the community.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't know that.
For free.
So, for free, which is key.
Free.
Because if you're unbanked, because typically if you go to your bank, they can notarize things for you, and there should be no charge for that. But if you're unbanked, meaning that you don't have a bank, then you have the option of going to a place like the library.
A lot of the banks have stopped post-COVID. A lot of the banks have stopped doing notarizations. We've seen a huge influx of need for that.
Yeah. And then even some libraries, you can get your taxes done.
Yes.
Are you guys offering that as well?
We don't, but we have sort of a partnership with a free tax help center, so we can direct you to them.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when you think of a library, and especially here in the U.S., and especially here in Northwest Arkansas, when we say everything is under one roof, it really is. There's a lot. I mean, what else would you say that you guys offer at the Springdale Public Library that people just wouldn't be aware that, I had no idea? Like, what do you normally hear from people when you tell them, we've got that? Oh, we've got that.
Yeah. We rent out fishing poles.
Yes. Okay.
And there's a pond in the backyard, so you can just check it out and go get
and
you
test
some
it
fish.
out.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's great. Yeah. I mean, I hear surprise from all sorts of things that the library offers, but we have Ancestry for free. You can get a New York Times subscription for free. All sorts of online things. Even the ebooks and audiobooks tend to surprise people. But we're working on expanding our library of things right now, which is what they call it when libraries rent out things like fishing poles and stuff. So we're looking to get like telescopes and ukuleles and other fun things for people to do. So that's something we're working on this year.
Okay. And what about like, do you guys have any like facilities for, like recording a podcast?
We do have meeting rooms that you can check out, and those are free.
Okay.
Everything at our library is free.
Right.
But yeah, our Shiloh room can hold up to 30 people. It's got a sound system and a screen. And we don't have like a audio studio yet in the way that Fayetteville does.
Yeah.
It's more for like presentations and meetings where we are.
Yeah. I think there's going to come a day and a time very soon in the not too distant future where every library is going to have video and audio equipment to rent.
It seems like it's moving that way, and we would love to.
Yeah. I think it's exciting. I mean, it just creates a whole new opportunity because, whatever, like, for instance, as you said, whatever Fayetteville is able to offer, people elsewhere can come down from Springdale and rent that and check it out. But, I think you're going to see more and more libraries like Springdale, like Rogers, like Bentonville that are going to make those offerings available to people.
Yeah. So. Yeah. We love Fayetteville. Some people think like the libraries are enemies.
It's a competition. It's like the Jets and the Sharks.
No.
It's not like that at all. I mean, it's funny because David Johnson, who's a very good friend of mine, in addition to being a former guest on this podcast, I mean, he speaks glowingly of all of his sister libraries here in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
And his commentary is always that, we're kind of all in this together. Right. And I think that's important. I mean, we want to make our books and literature available to the widest audience possible.
Yeah. Every library has something different to offer. And so our mission is to meet the needs of the community, and any way that we can do that is the way that will do that. So if that's pointing you to a different library, we're happy to. And we've had people, directed to our library from Fayetteville, looking after a certain book that we have that they don't, or something, a certain program that we've got going on.
Yeah. So how have you, as part of the leadership of the Springdale Public Library, stayed ahead of the curve as the population in Springdale has grown, as the number of languages has increased that are utilized in Springdale? I think Springdale has more languages used than any other city in Northwest Arkansas. I'm curious as a library, how do you stay ahead of the curve as far as that's concerned to meet those needs and that demand that continues to increase on a daily basis?
Yeah. In terms of population size, we're having an expansion. In terms of meeting the needs of different cultures, we have 2 different multicultural librarians, one for adult and teenagers and one for children.
Okay.
And so they're excellent at going out into the community and being really involved in these different communities and really just asking people, what do you want from the library? What's a need that's not being met in your life?
Yeah.
That's kind of how we happened upon notary services.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, oh, everybody in Springdale needs this on a pretty frequent basis. Let's make it easy for them.
Yeah, that's got to be cool. So have you guys, what are you thinking about for the future in terms of what you'd like to be able to accomplish for the community that you serve? And obviously you talked about an expansion that you guys are working on to expand. What will that expansion look like when it comes to the size of the library?
It's very large. It's what our courtyard is currently, and a little bit larger, is just going to be transformed into, a roofed room instead of the courtyard. But it will allow us to have bigger programs, more programs, with more space. And it'll also be, people can rent it out because our Shiloh room holds 30 people. But if you want to do a bigger event, that's a need that we saw was needing to be met. So that's what we're looking to solve.
Yeah. Having a room or having a meeting space is huge, right? And I can only think about all the different types of groups and organizations that get together and want to meet. Meetup.com is constantly has a list of all these different organizations and groups that people meet all around Northwest Arkansas. So
yeah, there's many a group that meet at Shiloh and at the library very frequently. But yeah, meeting room is free.
Okay.
As is everything.
That's good to know. So, and I recognize that, again, each library is kind of different in its own right. Do you guys have any special collections of books that maybe the Springdale Library is the only place that has them? That
it would be our Marshallese collection of books. I would argue that we have probably the biggest collection, I would dare say, in the States, maybe minus Hawaii.
Yeah, outside of the Marshall Islands, you probably have. Yeah.
Outside of Hawaii, Springdale is the largest or most population of Marshallese people in the United States. So that is a very niche community. So we do have very niche needs to meet that all other libraries don't. Every library's community is very unique. But yeah, I would say both in our collection and our programs, we'll do Marshallese story times. Right now in our gallery, we have on display a boat that was carved by a Marshallese artist. And it's like a boat.
Right.
It's a whole boat just sitting in the library.
Yeah.
So you should come and see that.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah. I'll have to come check that out and share that with our audience there. So again, the Springdale Public Library is a special place to come and visit. You guys are located on Pleasant Street, right? Is it 405 South Pleasant Street in Springdale? 405
South Pleasant.
Is that off of Emma? I'm trying to... No.
It's across the pond from Emma. College runs in between us, but we're right next to Murphy Park, next to Springdale High. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So what do you guys, how are you guys tying into some of the things that are happening with the Downtown Springdale Alliance?
Yes. I love DSA, the Downtown Springdale Alliance. We're always working closely with them. It is a little awkward since we're not exactly on Emma. So, we usually end up having a table during their events or during the biking events they do. We can be a stop on the trail where they can come get a water or something, and just generally being involved with Downtown Springdale. But we love them.
Yeah. Do you field a lot of field trips from kids from Springdale Public Schools?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So many children in the library. So loud. I love them all.
Yeah.
But yeah, being right near the schools is another thing that is maybe unique to us, being right near Springdale, because when the kids get off of school, they come to the library, like you said,
sure.
I grew up doing as well.
Right.
Which is nice to see kids living that experience that I had that was so important for me, growing up, that was so impactful on my life. So that's always nice.
Yeah, that is good. So I guess my next question would simply be, what else would you want our audience to know about the Springdale Public Library? What are your hours there?
Yeah, our hours were 9 to 8 Monday through Thursday. So we are open late. We're actually open 7 days a week. So we're 9 to 8 Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6 Friday and Saturday, and then 1 to 5 on Sunday.
Okay. Well, that's kind of similar to the Fayetteville Public Library in terms of hours. I think you kind of see that across the board. So where do you think you guys, with the growth of the population in Springdale, is there any possibility that you guys are going to open up another branch or location? Is that a question that people ask all the time?
Sometimes people do ask, because Springdale is very large. It is a very wide city.
Like, you don't realize how big Springdale is until you've driven somewhere. You're like, wait, you're still in Springdale? And it's like, how is that?
You can be 30 minutes out and still in Springdale. Yeah. I'm somewhat new here. I guess I'm not anymore. 3 years.
No. You're not. You're not new anymore. So
if something isn't off of college, it doesn't exist. To me.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
So, right. That's funny. So in terms of, is that even a possibility that they might end up having an expansion? Because they've asked about Fayetteville all the time. Like I think out at the west side of town, they're like, we would love to have a branch out here.
So with ours, we're actually in the Washington County library system, which Fayetteville is all by themselves.
Right.
But we're linked to every library in Washington County. So we've Elkins, Prairie Grove, Lincoln, West Fork. So if you live in those places and you ask for a book that's at our library or any of those libraries, they'll send it there. Okay. And then so you can, it's kind of like having a bunch of different branches.
Yeah. Well, that's similar to like when I lived in Boston. If you're part of the Boston Public Library and I'm physically living in Dorchester, if my Dorchester library doesn't have a book, then Boston, one of the other locations is going to say, oh, well, so-and-so has it. Mattapan has it, or Hyde Park has it. We'll send it over. It'll be here. Yeah. Do you typically get it the next day, or? Yeah.
We have a courier who runs books between libraries every day. We also have an ILL, which is interlibrary loan system.
Okay.
For books that are not in the library, in any of our libraries. It's a national system that a bunch of libraries are part of. And basically we say, hey, does anybody have this book? And someone will be like, yeah. So we get books from California, and from Louisiana, Hawaii. So that's a fun way. But yeah, if there is a book that you want that we do not have, please ask us.
You can probably get it pretty
We will
quickly.
get it for you.
So if I come into the Springdale Public Library and I'm searching online on your computer and I'm looking for a specific book, will it tell me if it's available in Prairie Grove or one of these other cities? As well as in Springdale? It'll
pop up. It'll just be listed all under the book. You click the book and it'll say what locations it's at. So it's pretty simple to see. But yeah, we can send it hither and thither.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. And then are a lot of people aware of that?
No.
Yeah.
Always trying to push our ILL.
Best kept secret. So
I know.
Yeah.
Against our will.
ILL. So interlibrary loan system. And then how many cities participate in this?
It's
Washington County?
Huge scale.
It is
the ILL. It's a national.
Oh, no. I'm talking about for the Washington County library system. Is every county outside of every city outside of Fayetteville participates in that? Okay. Every
Washington County library is the Springdale Library, and we are them. We're all one little happy family.
That's good to know.
Except for Fayetteville.
So Lowell, Johnson, although does Johnson even have a library?
Johnson does not. They kind of are an extension of Springdale.
That's what I thought. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, that's good to know. Well, I learned something new today with that information. I think that's extremely helpful. What else would you like our audience to know about the Springdale Public Library? that may not be common knowledge?
We are having our summer reading program right now.
Which you have every summer.
Which we have every summer.
Yeah.
And
how do you get a lot of participation in that program?
Oh, yeah. We had 600 people sign up for it at our kickoff on the 1st. So that was great.
Do you give a prize to the kid that's read the most number of books?
We have many prizes for kids. And this is the part that people don't know, for teens and adults as well.
Oh, really?
Adults can participate. And we have nice prizes. Like, it's not like a little like pop socket. Like we gave out a Switch last year.
Oh, nice.
And so nice things. And if you read anyway, you might as well, log it in our little app.
Yeah.
And then you get prizes. But yeah, adults can sign up as well. If you go on our website, it shows you how to sign up for the program to read.
Man. And what's the website address?
It's springdalelibrary.org.
springdalelibrary.org. And you guys are at 405 South Pleasant Street in Springdale, Arkansas, 72764. If people want to call in for information or anything along those lines, what's the best number to use?
It's going to be 479-750-8180.
Okay. And so this summer, as we're recording this, it's in June of 2024. This summer, you're going to have the summer reading program. You'll probably have several other events. You've got an upcoming situation where you're going to be doing an expansion at the library. And I understand you have some really nice ideas of designs that you're hoping to see implemented at the Springdale Public Library.
We don't have any dates yet or anything, but we are looking forward to it and being able to host big events. Like you said, the population is growing. There's more and more people who want to come to these events that we're having, which is great. But sometimes it can get a little packed in the library. So we're really excited about that.
That's very good. And if anybody has a group that they want to bring to the library, who would they contact about bringing them down to get more of an introduction to what's available to them? Because I'm always amazed when I talk to people and I'm like, oh, I haven't been to the library. And I'm like, what? How are you missing this resource, right?
A lot of people, as somebody who grew up in a library, it baffles me that a lot of people don't understand the basic function of a library. Yeah. I sit out at the front, I work the desk sometimes and I make library cards for people.
Sure.
And they'll be like, okay, how much is it? And I'm like, no, girl, it's free. And I'll be like, oh, for how long?
Right.
And I'm like, forever.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
But
you gotta love it.
Anybody, you walk into the library and anybody there is happy to help you. And if they can't, they will find somebody in the library who can.
Yeah. And again, there's courses, there's all kinds of programs that people can take part in. And then, of course, you've got all of these other, little benefits that you have. So tell me about this whole ancestry thing, because you kind of mentioned that as an aside. And how does that work? What is that?
Yeah. So if you have to be at the library, you come into the library and you can access Ancestry, it'll be free to you. And then, our librarians can help you. We also have microfilm with a bunch of newspapers that date back. I couldn't tell you how far, but it's pretty far.
Pretty far, yeah.
And we do have online database of newspapers and stuff as well. We've got the yearbooks. So if you're doing, some digging, come to the library. That's something that Google can't help you with.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And, and I think people need to realize that while you do have so much power in your hands, if your phone is in your hands, that, again, there's nothing like going to the library to maybe unearth some things that you may not necessarily easily find online.
Yeah. And the things that you find online aren't always trustworthy, with the rise of AI. We have a program coming up actually about teaching kids to discern real sources from AI because, it can be misleading.
Absolutely. I think that would be a valuable course. I think as we continue to progress, that course is probably going to become more and more in demand when people try to separate what's real from what's fake.
Yeah. That's why the library is here.
Exactly. So please support your local library like the Springdale Public Library. I want to encourage everyone listening to this that you really need to take time, go to your library. I know some of the names of the librarians at the Fayetteville Public Library because I'm in there so much. They know me. They know my favorite study room. I mean, I'm not saying you have to make the library your second home, but just darken the doorway of the library from time to time, and you'd be surprised, the return, as I like to say, the ROI on your time invested in the library can be tremendous. So I really want to encourage everyone to listen to this, especially to my Springdale peeps, to go to the Springdale Public Library, support them, support what they're doing. And do you guys have an annual fundraiser for the library, or how do you guys do that?
We do. We have a annual bookstore, book sale. Our bookstore is open all the time. We have a little bookstore.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have our big Friends of the Library book sale. It's usually in the fall, September, October. And that's, one of the main fundraising things for the library to help fund our programs. But I mean, we take donations whenever.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Well, Nina, I really appreciate you coming down here to sit down with us, and we will certainly be over to visit with you at the Springdale Public Library to get an up close and personal tour of the library. But thanks for sharing all the great things that you guys are doing. Folks, again, just to remind you, they've got ESL programs, obviously storytime programs that they have throughout the year. They welcome schools in that come in for field trips. They have crafting classes. Fishing poles are available. And what's even better is a pond right behind the library to do some fishing in.
Right there.
Which you can't beat. They have an ancestry program that you can utilize to find out who you are and where you really come from. Now, the New York Times subscription, how does that work? Is it just you get a subscription to the digital copy of the Times?
Yeah. So if you go on our website, you go to our little resources page, and then you have to make a New York Times subscription, but it gives you this little code. You put it in and boom, you're a member. And it lasts for 72 hours, and then you just put it in again, so you can use it as long as you want.
Oh, okay. Right.
But
so when you, like, if a friend sends you a link to a New York Times article that you can't open because it says you need to have an account,
then you can have it.
You can have an account.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I did not know that. I learned something new today. That's valuable information.
We have a lot of online resources that people wouldn't know of.
Is it all listed on the website?
It's all on the website. We have free online tutoring. We have driver's ed, quizzes and study guides and stuff.
Okay.
So many things. I could go on forever. I won't.
It's there. Well, we'll link to it in the show notes so that everybody has it, and that, especially those of you that are residents of the Springdale Public Library, I want to encourage you to go down there, visit with them, tell them that Randy from I Am Northwest Arkansas sent you. Ask for Nina and the rest of her team there, because I'm sure they'll be happy to serve you and to help you get the most out of your library, because that's what they're there for.
That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Nina Hodgson, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. We really appreciate it. I want to encourage everyone to go down to the Springdale Public Library. Check them out. They're at 405 South Pleasant Street in Springdale, Arkansas, 72764. The phone number is 479-750-8180. And their hours are 9 to 8, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6, Friday and Saturday, and from 1 to 5 on Sunday. Please, please, please visit the Springdale Public Library. Get a library card if you don't have one. Carry it around with honor in your wallet or your pocketbook and use it.
Yeah.
That's the only advice that I can give you. And just know that Northwest Arkansas, we read here. We have libraries here. So I really, I want those of you that are coming to Northwest Arkansas to live or work, just know that we've got some really great resources here, and it begins and ends with our public libraries. Yeah. So thank you so much, Nina. We really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, folks, there you have it. Another episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. To learn more about us or to read or download the show notes from today's episode, visit IamNorthwestArkansas.com. You can listen to this podcast and sign up for our free newsletter to keep up with us and all things NWA. Sign up today. You can also follow or subscribe to the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast wherever you listen to it. And please, please, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. I also want to encourage you to check out our YouTube page. Just go to YouTube and type in I Am Northwest Arkansas. You'll find our page there. Do me a solid, subscribe to the page, watch a few videos, smash the like button. Let us know that you've been there by commenting if you'd like. But we have a lot of videos on there, as well as all of our podcasts also exist on YouTube. I bet you didn't know that. So please check out YouTube today and follow I Am Northwest Arkansas. Remember, our podcast comes out every Monday, rain or shine. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and we'll see you back here next week for another new episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Check us out each and every week, available anywhere that great podcasts can be found. For show notes or more information on becoming a guest, visit iamnorthwestarkansas.com. We'll see you next week on I Am Northwest Arkansas.